Episode 7 opens with Gordon dreaming that he is the electrocuted body he saw on the street.
That dark image is reflective of his mental state.
He's seeing himself as a man who is dead, completely lost in his own life, in his career and in his family.
Gordon doesn't even know he was upset.
You're screaming at the top of your lungs.
And I think that's indicative of the fact that there's a lot going on with Gordon that he's not even aware is going on.
Things have gotten way, way out of hand. His whole world has become a hurricane. There's gonna be disappointment, but we need to focus on the net gain here.
Donna gets asked on this business trip by Hunt, and I think it represents a major encouragement in her life when she's not really being supported or encouraged at home.
You're taking the kids to school. Rose will be here by the time you get back, and I'll be home by noon tomorrow.
I think there's some concern on her part that the wheels are just gonna come off.
What they need to realize is that I'm in there every day. I'm pushing Joe to get what we need.
I'll miss you too.
Sometimes.
He is really forsaking everything else in his life for this machine.
Joe, that's a live current.
It's only a few volts. At this point, it's clear in his head, 1000%, that he is in an intense, loving relationship with her. Can't get enough of her, is addicted to her.
It's visually indicative of their entire relationship. These are two dangerous, volatile people, uncontrollable, who are connected. And is that connection tenable? How long until major damage is done because of that connection?
Oh, Simon Church, thank you for making the trip all this way. I can't tell you how exciting this is for us and the project.
Hello to you, too.
There's unfinished business with Joe and Simon. They spent some time together, they were close, and time has passed.
Joe is about composure, and then when he sees Simon, that composure drops.
Would you mind waiting for us in the conference room?
He's hiding his emotional reaction to the sight of Simon.
I can't wait to see what you've put together. I want something from him. I want the case. That's part of the access into Joe's life.
It's exactly what we wanted. Joe, this design will require another hardware overhaul. I'm talking hundreds of hours.
He spent months and months building a machine in a certain way, and essentially Simon's design doesn't take any of that into account.
Do you think you can just waltz in here and demand that we change everything because you don't like the way that it looks?
Yes.
He's not gonna win this battle, and neither one of them understand why the boards have to be the way they are. Look, if we continue to put form ahead of function, we're gonna be the ones left behind with everyone laughing at us.
He feels like he and his contribution are being cast aside.
Did you sleep with Simon?
Cameron puts together that Joe and Simon were in a relationship, and I think that throws her for a loop because to her, Joe is not a relationship type.
10 years ago, I was at a conference in Europe. Simon spoke. I wanted to be him.
Then to suddenly be confronted with someone from Joe's past who he had a deep connection with scares her a little bit.
We stayed to the end of the event, traveled around the continent for the next month, and then he left.
Up until now, she's believed that she's been the only one to maybe crack through that black onyx polished surface that is Joe McMillan.
That's it.
And yet he was in the office today. She is identifying her own capacity for jealousy in this relationship, which is the scariest part about that.
I guess he was just stringing me along.
We find two people defining the boundaries of their relationship. I think they're kind of waiting to see who will say ouch first.
That guy just messes me up.
So, what can I do for Miss Rainbow Bright this evening?
Cameron wants Simon to take her seriously, and so she goes to the gallery to pitch him and say, build our case.
I know this is important to him.
Important. What did Joe tell you about me?
What she's not expecting is for Simon to regurgitate back to her a story that sounds very much like the one that she's in the midst of living.
I told him I loved him. And the moment I said it, I knew it was over, so I left the next morning.
Cameron sees for the first time the possibility of how things might end with Joe.
In the end, I believe Joe just got bored.
It sends her to a dark place where she begins to question a lot of the things between her and Joe she's never questioned before.
Please don't make the mistake of thinking that he won't do the same thing to you eventually.
Are Are you gonna get bored of me?
I don't know.
She knows it's the truest thing he can possibly say at that point. He's actually speaking from his heart. It's a very touching moment for her, at the same time that it's bittersweet.